You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
I wasn't told it was formal wear today. No, wait. Did I miss the memo? I send the memos. Why would I miss the memo?
Is that teal?
No, it's just blue.
Okay.
Just blue.
I was going to say that this is Coastal Carolina's time is done.
Yeah, no, I don't think I actually own a teal shirt. This is Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk. It's a very fancy edition of Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. We want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Duffy.
Would be a little weird.
Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's only a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. I sent Shane a text last night. I saw a thing on Instagram. Ice cream nachos.
I've actually had those before.
Oh my gosh! I was like,
cone.
Little waffle chips.
Yep.
Little side of caramel, little ice cream. Oh my gosh! I was like, Shane, far be it from me, Shane, to tell you how to run your business, but I would buy this. And he was like, I would too. So we'll see. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. If you're cooking out this weekend, nothing beats the sizzle of beef on the grill. And it is prime grilling season. We are in the summer. You got those free weekends. You might as well be cooking. Enjoy some great steaks this weekend or go all the way. Get a big brisket out there on the smoker. Spend all day with it and have a great meal for you and your family. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you are looking for. Father's Day has come and gone, but that doesn't mean you know the gift giving has to end. All right, Mom and Dad, you, whoever you are, you need new gear. It's imperative that we get everybody on the same page with this gear. We cannot continue on with this Banner M nonsense. It is time to let go of the ghost of the Banner M and get yourself a new polo from College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area. Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, followed by the Half Shell, or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com.
That's the real ghost of Larry Templeton.
It is. It absolutely is. If it was the old Banner M with like the fur on the end, that's the bad one.
Oh.
Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant. For lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch, the best meal in town, always going to be at Restaurant Tyler. We love a trip to Restaurant Tyler here on Thunder and Lightning. We love to grab some great food for lunch and for dinner. I haven't been to Sunday brunch there in a while. Maybe I need to treat myself, my family, coming up pretty soon. Whenever you're in Starkville, if it's around lunchtime and you want to grab the best lunch in this town, a great blue plate, it's only one place to go. That's Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations to serve you throughout central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide and show you not only how they are going to help you invest and manage your money, but how they're going to help you prepare for your future. Now, more than ever, when you have questions about your money, you need answers. You need them on your schedule. You don't need to be asked to wait around. You don't want to be on hold. You don't want to talk to somebody who doesn't know who you are. You want to talk to a banker who knows your money and knows you as well. That's the level of service you're only going to get at Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority.
Just the elephant in the room, why I'm wearing a shirt and tie. It's not because I'm not going for a job interview or anything like that.
He's actually wearing, he's gone full ESPN. He's wearing gym shorts underneath and flip-flops.
I've gone John Sokoloff on people. That was always the craziest thing to me because I would go to WCBI and I would see somebody, like it wasn't always that. Sometimes they would wear full suit, but like I would see like the shirt and tie and they walk behind the thing and they're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
But anyway, so this morning I went to a funeral. My good friend, Mr. Bobby Wilson, who is a great bulldog. Mm-hmm. He and his wife, Miss Betty Sue, who is like they're like grandparents to my kids. They are just amazing people. Mr. Bobby passed away last week, so I sang at the funeral on Monday morning. It was a great service, and a great celebration of life for him. Wanted to give him a little bit of a shout out because he was such a great person, but a great Bulldog too. He loved Mississippi State. You probably saw him around Christmas time whenever you have Christmas at the Hump and you're taking pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus. I hate to spoil this, but
That's not the
that
actual
wasn't the
Santa.
real Santa. And Mrs.
Yeah,
Claus.
the real Santa is still at the North Pole at
Correct.
that moment.
He's a little busy.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Bobby was one of Santa's helpers.
he was a Santa's helper. That's
Yeah.
right. So rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
Left a great legacy to those that knew him. So I just wanted to give him a little bit of a shout out.
All right, very good. Very good. You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
So I like that tie.
So do you. Borky the other day kept hyping up Gentile,
Yeah.
and I've yet to see one of these shirts.
I'm gonna get you one, and I promise before the football season comes, you will have a Gentile polo. I'm gonna make a promise to you right here.
I'm gonna hold you to it
Okay.
because I feel like I've brought this up several times.
Like 2 days before kickoff, I'm like, crap, I gotta buy him one. It's like
yeah, they sent it to me, so I'm just like, yeah, thanks, all right.
Yeah.
And I don't even recognize the fact that you bought me a shirt. You don't have to buy me a shirt.
No.
Do not buy
I will get you a SuperTalk, this logo
I'll take it.
polo. What you got a color in particular?
No, just surprise me.
All right, powder blue it is.
Look, I didn't want to say this in public.
Get you powder blue with a little red logo there.
I didn't want to say this in public,
Yeah.
but
I heard you were talking up
that's
Ole
a
Miss.
pretty strong,
on
a pretty strong color scheme.
Yeah.
And it makes the blue eyes pop.
Yeah.
So
I heard you were talking up the Rebels last week on Sports Talk.
and for some reason, a lot of
I was
Ole Miss,
laughing reading that thread.
a lot of Ole
Somebody
Miss
else
fans
finally gets it.
So, all right. We were having the conversation about
DeBoer.
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
And it was like hyperbole that I said, like, that's like the greatest season ever for Mississippi State if you're winning 10 games.
Yeah.
It would have been,
It's
true. Third or fourth best season in Mississippi State history. But that doesn't mean, I didn't need a breakdown of the greatest seasons in Mississippi. I'm just saying, at Mississippi State, 9 or 10 wins would be fantastic.
Great season, yeah.
And so then I came back. I forgot, to mention for Ole Miss, too. That's a pretty good season for Ole Miss, too. And that got dissected, and I'm just like, I can't. I can't deal with this today.
There you go.
I love you people, but sometimes you just take things, way too seriously.
That's what they do.
It's just not that big of a deal.
Right. We got a good show lined up for you today. We got an SEC preview a little later in the show. We're doing the Kentucky Wildcats today. But first. That was an old school 2015 Top Dog camp kind of day on Sunday for Mississippi State. There's a major difference. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but State filled up the coffers yesterday with some new recruits. I believe a total of 6 guys jumping into the boat for Mississippi State.
6 to 8, I can't remember.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you right now, these receivers, I'm going to have some trouble over between Zion Cotton, Zion Crumpton, and Jaden Creation.
Yeah, I'm getting them all mixed up.
I'm going to get them all mixed up. All 3 of those guys commit yesterday. I'm just going to try to go through them here. It's hard to keep up with. Caleb Triplett, linebacker out of D'Iberville, commits yesterday. Devon Young, defensive lineman out of Theodore High School, Mobile, Alabama. Mm-hmm. Micah Nickerson is a player I'm interested in. Of all these guys, he's the one that I'm like, he looks like a very old school Mississippi State. We found this guy and nobody else knows, and we're going to turn him into a star guy, but we'll see. He's not rated right now. Out of South Pike. And then Terrell Johnson out of Holmes County. So State back on the Holmes County pipeline after taking a year off. And that kid, I forget what his name was.
Cortez Thomas.
Yeah, went to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
So just in terms of numbers, State up to 23 commitments now. So pretty close to a full class. 36th in the nation on 3, 12th in the conference. Although they're saying that apparently when all this comes into play, that State, a few of these guys like McWhorter, the quarterback Brody McWhorter, Zion Cotton, some of these guys are 4-star guys over on Rivals. So you could see State just kind of artificially, float its way up a little
Camden
bit.
Capehart's a 4-star.
But we have to address what the elephant in the room is here on this recruiting class. And we may have to argue a little bit here. I got a feeling we might, but
I doubt it.
Okay, good. Now I want to start off. J.J. Hill is criminally underrated.
Yes,
that guy is one of the top 2-3 players in this state this year. All right, looking at, he's ranked on 1-3. He's ranked the 22nd best player in the state. I'll eat my hat if that's the 22nd best player in the state. This isn't just me telling you this because he's committed to Mississippi State. I've seen him play.
I went to bat for A.J. Brown after he committed to Ole Miss that he could have been a 5-star. So I can say whether or not.
Yeah.
Even if it's a Mississippi State kid, whether or not the kid's properly rated.
Yeah.
He's underrated.
Highly underrated. Fantastic player. Should be much higher, in my opinion.
You and I have both seen him live.
Yes.
And he
could play for Mississippi State right now.
Well, whenever you grow up in the state and you watch these kids come through.
I've seen these kids.
When you see it.
I saw Kylan Hill in high school. I saw Eris Williams in high school.
Willie Gay.
I saw these guys. The same kind of guy.
Yeah. You know when you see these guys, whether or not they're
so he's underrated. And Mississippi as a whole tends to produce a good deal of underrated talent, right? You look at a guy like Zayon Cotton, right? 6'5", 205, probably going to be a tight end in high school, in college. If he was in Florida, he's probably a 4-star kid, just based off of his measurables. That being said, Robbie, when you look at this class, especially on the defensive side of the ball, if you tell me that in 3 years, more than 5 of these guys made a big impact at State, I think Hill will. A couple of the receivers, maybe. I think Capehart could be a guy, Camden Capehart, just because he's got elite speed. Could be a guy like that. One of these tight ends might show up. Luke Hutchinson certainly has the bloodlines for it.
Well, and Cotton. I think
Cotton is another could end up being a good player.
Here's the thing. We're only talking about, for the most part, offensive guys.
Yeah. Robbie, this is a recruiting class. This is not getting it done.
The defensive class is
unbelievable, unbelievably. It's just poor.
And I always teeter on this conversation because I don't want it to be a slap in the face of the kids.
Right.
Because it's they're living out their dreams.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids, Micah Nickerson is a lifelong State fan.
Yeah.
Terrell Johnson, lifelong State fan. I actually like both of those takes, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think Micah Nickerson is a potential breakout guy.
Mm-hmm.
6'5", probably about 220, gets after the quarterback. There is a lot to like about him.
Mm-hmm.
But then, there's some guys in this class that I'm looking at, and I'm like, why take them at this stage?
Yeah.
Is my thing. You think they can play? I get it. A lot of these guys, you're not battling for anybody. You're battling Louisiana Monroe and people like that. There's the defensive class right now is rough.
So our guy Peanut on your board did the work here, did the research for us. Devon Young, who State just took this past weekend, he has one Power 4 offer, and he took it. It's Mississippi State. Caleb Triplett committed this weekend. Same thing. State is his only Power 4 offer. Micah Nickerson, as you mentioned, has at least a second Power 4 offer. State has 3 linebackers committed with a combined 3 SEC offers. They're all Mississippi State.
And again, I think Nickerson is just under the radar.
I think so too, but
we've seen
I
guys
get it.
like that before, but the others were just what? Why? I don't understand why.
Nobody on this defensive side of the ball has more than 3 SEC offers, and that's the defensive lineman Caleb Morris has 3. State has 4 guys committed on the defensive side of the ball who have a total of 1 SEC offer, it being from Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is even looking at Brody McWhorter, I think he's a good prospect. He'll never play because he's going to be behind.
But you have to have
a quarterback. Don't get me wrong. You sign a quarterback in every class. I'm a firm believer in that. But don't sell me on the idea that he's ever going to. He's 5 years away from starting.
Well, and that's kind of why I'm
because Barrett Taylor is going to be the guy after next year. You would think.
That's kind of why I'm not really hitting the panic button on this because I honestly think high school recruiting in college football has taken a giant step back. I'm not saying it's not important at all, but the bulk of your classes are not going to impact your team for at best 2 years, maybe 3. And by that point, you're starting to cycle through them and you're over recruiting them or you're processing or they're transferring. So, it's still going to hinge on what Mississippi State does in the transfer portal, but it's a reflection of your coaching staff. Like, it just seems like on the defensive side specifically, they're just grabbing commitments to place them and say, we're done.
Yeah.
Oh, we got our cornerbacks. But your defense was the worst in school history.
And this goes back to the portal.
This doesn't help.
That, I thought Turner in the portal got some guys there who could help him, right? Whitson, Hibbler, Sanders. Those guys can help, right? Cornerback did not. Absolutely did not get anybody that could help in the portal. Maybe Lewis, maybe.
And we're on very few guys. Like
yeah. It's not, no.
It was like they acted
it's the
like
same thing here. It's just like the first guy was like, yeah, I'll commit. Okay, we'll take you. And now we're good. We're good. We got our guy.
Terrell Buckley used to do that. Try to get him down as quick as possible and not have to worry about it. You have major problems at the defensive, interior defensive line, coaching, and cornerback.
Yeah.
Those are going to be that might be something, if it's not addressed, that makes for a quick exit for Jeff Levy. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. Right now, it is disastrous what they've done at those two positions.
Yeah.
Now the defensive line, they got better in the portal, but you followed that up now by you're still taking these diamonds in the rough, and this is not.
These aren't even diamonds in the rough.
This
got to be honest,
or what they think they are.
They hope.
Like, this isn't 2012 anymore. There are no Chris Jones and there might be, but there's very few of them.
Yeah.
Chris Jones, Preston Smiths, guys like that, Benardrick McKinney's that are coming through that fly under the radar. Like, you're a big time SEC program. Well, big time might be a
you're an
right
SEC
now,
program.
You're an SEC program.
Period.
You shouldn't have to scrape to find these guys. Like, you should be able to go out there and win these battles, and they're just not.
The thing that concerns me the most.
But it's like, hold on. You can't even get Darion Albert to visit.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to Tennessee regardless, but the guy's an in-state defensive lineman. 8 years ago,
he would have already been committed.
He would have been committed to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
You can't even get him on campus. He canceled his visit before he came here.
Yeah.
Then he released the top 2, and Bill Belichick, with all his issues, is in the final 2 with this kid and not you. That's not great.
In the top 20 players in the state of Mississippi this year, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive linemen, and State won't likely get a visit. No, never mind a commitment. A visit from any of them. This is a good year for recruiting in Mississippi. We've talked about it before. The top 14 players are listed as composite on 3-4 stars. State is unlikely to get any of them.
Yeah.
Like, their best chance is TJ White, the linebacker from Jackson Academy, but a lot of people seem to think he'll go to Tennessee with his teammate Darion Albert, who is the 13th ranked player, who's also a 4-star player as well. And you're talking about, these are some kids at some schools where Mississippi State has done well in the past. All right. You look at, we mentioned J.A. Joralen McCoy, who we think will probably commit at least one more time, but he's at Tupelo with J.J. Hill, but you can't even get a sniff from him. Emmanuel Tucker was committed to Mississippi State, and then immediately, once he took off a little bit and moved up the rankings, dropped that commitment. Now he's committed to LSU. Brandon has a cornerback this year. You could use a cornerback. Brandon is a Mississippi State school. It always has been. Will Rogers, Jarius Norwood, the Adams brothers, all those guys. But he's not looking at Mississippi State. It's pretty incredible how poorly Mississippi State is recruiting in the state of Mississippi this year. Every great, and I know it's a different era of college football. I understand that. But every good Mississippi State team in my lifetime has been built with the best players from Mississippi on it. And State's not going to get any of them this year.
And
outside of Hill. Hill should be rated higher.
Yeah.
Everything sort of revolves around that. He should be in the top 10 somewhere. But other than that, what are we doing?
And it is kind of an epidemic with kids in Mississippi staying in Mississippi.
Right.
Like that appears to be something that's moving away.
Yeah.
because you look at it and the top 3, especially in the state, are probably going out of state.
Yeah.
Kristen Keys, Braylon Walton.
Matthews may end up at Ole Miss.
Matthews might, but
Might on Ole Miss.
TJ White out of state,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. McDonald probably.
McDonald probably out of state. Demarius Yates is going to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So out of the top 10, you're looking at 1 or 2. So it's not a Mississippi State thing. I want to make that clear. We have a problem across the board in the state of Mississippi with these kids wanting to go out of state. And the secret's kind of out that you got some great players in the state of Mississippi, and they just don't. I don't know if they don't think it's cool to stay home or what. I don't like that. I think that needs to change. You have got to lock down your players here. You can build well over half a class out of the state of Mississippi kids, and Mississippi State did that for a long period of time. And now you look at it, and the state will be lucky to have, 5 or 6 in the top 20.
Oh, yeah. So as it stands right now, in the top 20 players in Mississippi, Cotton is currently ranked 15th. State could get Iverson McCoy back in.
Yeah.
He's ranked 17th. Jaden Creation is ranked 19th. Jaden Taylor is ranked 20th. Now, we all agree that J.J. Hill is, at some point is going to have to move up. He just has to. So maybe, you might get to 5. A guy like Dalton Toothman is 21st.
With the options he has, that's kind of strange.
He should be probably rated a little higher. So, and again, it goes back to what we were saying. Mississippi always has some kids that are underrated that you think are going to be, good players, and they just don't get the recruiting hype here in this state. But this is a problem. And look, it really is just as simple as you have a coach who was 2-10 last year, and he has no resume.
Yes.
If State had brought Nick Saban in, and they were just so bad that they went 2-10, you could still say, well, it's still Nick Saban, right? He'll get it fixed. He'll make it happen. We know Nick Saban. When you have it where it's a coach who has no resume whatsoever as a head coach, and he goes 2-10, and he has his defensive coordinator who's never been a defensive coordinator before, what are you selling them? I get it.
I know that sounds like an excuse, but it is playing a factor in recruiting for Mississippi State. It's just going to be harder to get on these kids' radars where they want to come here right now. It just is. And the fact of the matter is, like, Mississippi State is in kind of a depressing state right now when it comes to football. And it's up to Jeff Lebby to figure out a way to get out of it. And it's like the conversation we had last year. Like, to get out of it, you have to get better players. And how do you get better players if you don't have the product on the field?
Right.
State's trying. You got to inch away at it.
I mean, this is one of those things too, Robbie, where we go back to something our friend Charlie Winfield tells us all the time. It's like, it's not Amazon. You can't just say, look,
you can't just buy.
I want to get these guys, so let's just buy them. I mean, unless you just want to, blow your NIL budget. I'm sure there's a number for Tristan Keys and Braylon Womack where you could say, hey, we'll give you this, where they would say, okay.
Like $3 million.
$3 million a piece, but then you've blown your budget.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. So
I think people just had this, like,
do you think
sense that we just raise all this money and go buy kids, and that's just not how it works. They still want to go win.
Yeah, it's about having the money on hand for when they're ready to commit to you.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Let's play best case scenario, and let's say State goes into the Egg Bowl 5-6 and finds a way to beat the Rebels, and they're 6-6 and they go to a bowl game. Do we see a lot of shuffling in this class? I think you see some guys get dropped out. Could you see some of the Mississippi kids say, okay, wait a minute. That sort of what happened with Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of what happened with Mullen, I guess, because obviously it got away from him there. But could it be a situation where we look up and we say, okay, and we get to December, they've picked up, a commitment, TJ White and maybe Xavier McDonald and maybe Jalen McCoy. So like, okay, wait a minute, they're building something in State. I can go there.
Yeah, I think.
Could that happen?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the key is, like, State needs to have success early on in the season, and then you start talking to kids and saying, you got to come see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they start coming to campus during the season, and they start seeing your team, getting around your team and stuff, because the fact of the matter is, like, the culture here is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people have been following this team, but, like, there are really good kids in this program. the way that they run this program, I think, is really commendable. And it's not like it's not like it's just like a crap show. Like I think that this program is being run the right way. They're working hard every day. The players are good players. They're going out in the community being good. And once players get a chance to see that and they get here and they get around it, it is something you want to be a part of. But at the end of the day, Mississippi State is coming off a 2-10 win season. So they've got to show on the field they are moving in the right direction, or all that other stuff doesn't really matter. Like players want to get money, but they're going to get the money regardless.
Yeah.
So why would I go to a 2-10 team over a playoff contender?
Right.
When
or
I
even
could also
a
get
7-5 team.
You might be paying a little more, but is it really worth it for me to go that if I don't think that I'm going to win?
It's just like anything else in life, right? Like you don't make your decisions solely based on money. They play a big role,
correct?
But like you have a good job, right? And I'm sure if somebody offered you a raise at a good job, like I'll just I don't know, just say somebody 36.8 became a thing. And they were like, "Hey, we want you to run this website, and it's going to be you're in charge, and you get a little extra money." You're probably interested, right? But if I said, "Hey, I'm going to pay you double your salary, but you got to wipe my rear end for me," you're probably going to say no to that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go.
There's not a number.
God bless our nurses.
I know, right?
My gosh.
So, yeah, it's not just about money. It is about the situation that Mississippi State is in, and the only way to dig out of that is to win games. I'll say this. State, we've talked about it a little bit before. These first 4 games for Mississippi State, the 4 non-conference games, they're so huge. If State could find a way to be 4-0, you're talking about you want to bring in a bunch of recruits to play when they play Tennessee. You probably have a night game, probably have a big crowd, probably have a lot of excitement. You got something there. Lebby's future at Mississippi State, really, a lot of it hinges on that Arizona State game. They have to find a way to win that game.
Yep.
If they can do that and be 4-0, then you're moving in the right direction. Because there's especially if there's an outside chance, Ole Miss at Kentucky, Arkansas at home, there's an outside chance they could drop one of those, right? Those are SEC games. Crazy things happen in them. And we saw last year with Ole Miss and Kentucky. What if you were the undefeated team going into Week 5? There's just so much on the line in those first 4 games for Mississippi State. That's a ton of pressure for Lebby and those guys.
And I think that like the weeping and gnashing of teeth it's just kind of like there's no point in it right now. Like
it just is what it is. It really is.
You actually see this team on the field and they get to prove it on the field. There's really no reason to get upset about high school recruiting. And maybe don't even get excited either. It's just kind of blah right now.
Yeah.
And the defensive side especially is just in a rut. And it's doesn't appear to be getting that much better because I don't think, as we sit here today, I wouldn't expect TJ White, who would be kind of the headliner of the class, to commit to Mississippi State. I would expect probably Tennessee on that. I'm happy to be wrong. But just by talking to him, I just didn't get that vibe.
Yeah.
Good on him for going through with his visit and continuing to do his visit instead of, the Darion Albert thing where he just didn't come at all.
Right.
But I don't know if he's ready to make that jump when he has a really good opportunity with Tennessee. And that's where Mississippi State is right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I cannot stand when people say our program's done.
Yeah.
Our program's buried. This is it. How long have you been following Mississippi State sports? We've sat through seasons that have lasted almost a decade where Mississippi State was just absolutely terrible. And they got out of that. They made it out. All it takes is one really good hire and buy-in from the rest of your community and fans to turn something around. This is not the end of the world if Mississippi State doesn't win the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
The program isn't dead.
Yeah.
They're not going to get kicked out of the SEC.
Right.
It's just a bad time. Like, I just wish people would have more nuanced conversations where we're not having to say a program's in the dirt and never coming back
Right.
again. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Wow. So
But it happens every day. NIL's bad for us. I told you this 4 years ago. So you told us in the middle of Mississippi State's 9-win season that NIL was going to kill the program.
Yeah.
You told us that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
NIL isn't why Mississippi State is where it is right now.
NIL is the only reason that basketball and baseball are doing as well as they are.
Look, we can never keep who we want. Why is Josh Hubbard here?
Yeah.
Why is Isaac Smith still here?
Yeah.
Do you think that Mississippi State last
you
year
can make a real case that like Kevin Coleman is the only guy that State has lost over the last.
Kevin Coleman, because there were some disagreements with Michael O'Brien, and there was some back and forth with
Michael Van Buren.
Michael Van Buren.
Yeah.
There was I don't know why I always call him that.
He was a guy here too.
Mario Craver.
Yeah.
It was kind of like mutual. There's been very few that's Ra Thomas. They were kind of
they would have liked to have kept. They wanted to keep Ra, but he made his
basically been like two or three guys. I think they want Bryce Pollock.
Yeah,
there's been 2 or 3 guys that they really wanted to.
That
keep.
was just a bad. That was just.
And that
was just Levy making a mistake as well.
Well, no, I mean let's be real about it.
Yeah,
Bryce Pollock's cornerbacks coach wasn't retained.
Yeah,
and he was telling kids. He was encouraging kids to leave. Mm-hmm. He was encouraging kids to come there. And guess where Bryce Pollock ended up?
He might have had a point.
He did. He did have a point.
But
let's call it for what it is. Yeah. It's not State didn't have NIL money. It wasn't anything like that. It was Darcel McBath kind of scorned, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Talking to kids. He talked to a couple of kids in the portal. He talked, DeCameron Richardson, those guys. So, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Let's have a nuanced conversation and say Mississippi State's in a really bad place with football right now. There's a lot of things that have to happen to get them out of it. End of story. It doesn't have to be that this is the end of the rope. Mississippi State's about to go to Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Things like that. They're not going to get kicked out of this league. They're not going to end the program. They're not defunding it. They're in a really bad spot right now, and Jeff Lebby's got to find a way out of it. And if he doesn't, he'll no longer be the coach at Mississippi State, and it's time to go to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, speaking of moving on, let's move into the rest of the show. It's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoke Meats and the Older Brother in the heart of the Cotton District, right next door to each other. 2 fantastic places to eat right here in the city of Starkville. If you're going to be in the Cotton District around lunchtime or dinner time, I cannot give you a higher recommendation than either of those 2 fine establishments. This depends on what you want to eat. Do you want to eat the smoked Southern soul food that's on sale at Two Brothers Smoke Meats, or do you want to enjoy a fancy sandwich from our friends at the Older Brother? Whatever you choose, you did not lose at Two Brothers and the Older Brother. Great products, great service. I want to distinguish. You're in a tie. I want a distinguished one here. Ready? Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50 years, my good sir.
Very good. If you need technology.
It's like that was far too distinguished. It didn't have to be that distinguished, but it needed some pizzazz.
They gave it something there, yeah. If you need technology for your business, if you need a new copier, a new printer, new computers or laptops, the place to go is Advantage Business Systems, because not only are you going to get a great product, but you're going to get service after the sale. Anytime you buy an electronic device, at some point something's going to go on the fritz and you're going to have to get it fixed. And so do you want to talk to somebody at a call center where you're going to be on hold for 45 minutes and they'll set up an appointment for you for a week from now? Or do you want to talk to somebody on a 601 number and they talk to you immediately and they come out and fix it the same day or the next day because they're in Mississippi just like you? Seems like a pretty easy choice to me. 601-362-9192 or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. If you're going to be in Starkville and you need MSU gear, the place to go is Maroon & Co. If you're not going to be in Starkville and you need MSU gear, the place to go is maroonandco.com. Either place is a place you can use our discount code to save yourself some money on great Mississippi State merchandise, the biggest and best selection in all of Starkville. Use the code Thunder15 in-store or online to save 15% off your next purchase. Whatever you're looking for in Mississippi State, they've got it right there at Maroon & Co. Next time you're in Starkville, before you go to the game, you need to go to Maroon & Co. Are you working out in the yard this weekend? If you are, you've got to make a trip to Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden before you do anything. They have the John Deere power that you need. If you're tired of spending all day making your lawn look right, you want to make it an easier process for you, a John Deere commercial mower, the John Deere Gators, the John Deere compact utility tractors are all available with great deals, some up to 0% financing. It's all right there for you. Everything you're looking for. If you're working around the house, in the lawn, in the garden, if you got projects around your house, some fix-it, some repair stuff. If you're just cooking out this weekend, whatever you're looking for, it's right there at Scruggs Farm Lawn and Garden. Go check it out today. Scruggs Farm Lawn and Garden. They are your certified John Deere dealer here in North Mississippi. All right, SEC preview time. The Kentucky Wildcats is who we're going to go with. We got to do another one of these this week too, Robbie. So we'll be picking another one for, I guess, for Thursday's show. We also have opponent previews this week for Missouri and Georgia as we try to get caught up. Kentucky, season ago, they had a highlight. They had one game that we all enjoyed. You know, most of us listening. Some of you guys listening didn't enjoy it at all, but that's okay. Robbie and I enjoyed it for you. They were 4-8 last year after starting out 3-2, and you think, okay, you know, they lost to South Carolina and Georgia in their first, 3 games, and you're thinking, okay, well, South Carolina's okay, and Georgia's obviously a really good team, and they only lost to Georgia by a point. You think, okay, they're going to be pretty good this year. They beat Ole Miss, and you're like, all right, they're off and running. Instead, they only won one more game. It was against Murray State, and they finished 4-8. Mark Stoops. Just by the way, just it always, whenever a coach like is going out the door and everybody knows he's leaving, Kiffin is the outlier to that. Like normally when a coach does that, it ends it. It breaks everything and it doesn't work out. So Stoops thought he was going to A&M. He gets pulled back in, and now 2 years later, if he doesn't turn it around big time this year, they could be looking to fire him. He'll get a big buyout, but that could be the case. So let's look at this Kentucky schedule. They start off with our guy, Joe Moorhead. By the way, no, sorry, that's Toledo. Never mind. He's an Akron. But I did want to mention Joe Moorhead today. I don't know if you saw his son, Donovan, committed to Jacksonville State today.
Coming to Alabama.
Very good. So Kentucky, oh no, Toledo, first game. Watch out, guys. Look out.
No. Don't do it.
I think they'll win, but goodness, be careful.
They should.
All right, so 1-0. And then they have this really interesting game, week 2 against Ole Miss at home. It's a 2:30 kickoff. It's the ABC game of the week. I got to think Ole Miss is going to go up there looking to prove a point, right? They can't overlook them 2 years in a row, can they?
Yeah. This is going to be one they have circled for sure. Mm. But Kentucky is a tough place to play.
It is. If that game was at night, I would like to catch chances a little bit.
But
more.
I did say the same thing last year about Williams-Brice, and they had no issue.
Yeah.
So if it outside of playing at Baton Rouge, like I cannot predict what Ole Miss is going to do on the road. I know when they go to Baton Rouge, it's going to be tough for them to win every time they go. Mm-hmm. This one, I think they'll handle.
All right. Eastern Michigan.
Should
be 2-1. Off week. Then this is brutal. Their next 2 games are at South Carolina, at Georgia. I would be surprised if they picked up either one of those.
I think they lose both.
Okay.
South Carolina, again, who's quarterback at these schools? South Carolina's got a returning quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be talented. Their defense will probably be pretty salty.
Plus, will he be at night? Yep. Now, I don't know if that's a night game because that's Alabama, Georgia.
PBA.
They may have already set the time for that now that I think about it.
It's not set, but there's going to be a window in there. It just doesn't say on their website.
Let me see if I can find the schedule. It didn't say. So,
I'm at that seems like
that could be coming out of game day.
It could be that, or it could be.
Well, actually, no. Arkansas
6:30 SEC Network.
Arkansas hosting Notre Dame is the 11 a.m. game that day.
That's going to be the SEC Network game.
Could be
at night.
Could be. But you've also got State Tennessee that night. Depends on what state is, obviously. Ole Miss LSU.
Did it not have a window for that game?
I didn't. Hold on. Let me get.
I'm surprised they don't have.
I'm sure they have it. I haven't looked at it yet.
Site.
I just looked on
Georgia's at 11 a.m. on ESPN.
So 2025 schedule
or ABC.
They don't have their schedule doesn't say the windows.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Does South Carolina have it?
I hadn't looked.
Great radio right at.
Well, there's the SEC site had everybody's.
It did, but I'm just trying to make it easier on myself here. Okay, yeah, here they go. It's Flex.
Okay, so that's gonna be
could be a night game.
Okay.
So we've already talked about this. Alabama at Georgia is the ABC game that night.
Yes.
Ole Miss LSU is almost likely locked in at 2:30 that day. State, Tennessee, I said Arkansas and Notre Dame is the 11 a.m. game. You have Auburn at A&M, Kentucky at South Carolina, and State hosting Tennessee. So got some good games that day.
Yep.
So we're going to say they're 2-3.
Ugh.
Another week off, and then their next two are at home against Texas and Tennessee. So 2-5. 5 at Auburn.
Yikes.
I mean, it's brutal.
And I'm not even going to ask you to look up the time on that, but yeah, I'm going with Auburn in that game.
I will as well. Florida at home. It's just not fun, man.
You know, Kentucky's kind of had Florida's number in recent years.
They have, but it's been more at home. This is at Florida.
No, it's at Lexington.
Oh, it is at Atlanta. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I keep reading that.
Have we talked Florida yet?
We haven't.
Okay, so I can't even go back on what my pick was.
Yeah.
I think I'm still going to go with Florida here.
Okay, so did I. Tennessee Tech. All right.
Unless Tennessee Tech's throwing out the outfielder that pitched for him at the Oxford Regional that
I
time.
don't think that guy's got any eligibility. At Vanderbilt, they should be able to win that.
Should they?
I think so. And
I
then
think we picked. Did we not pick Vandy on
I
that?
picked Kentucky.
Okay.
All right. And then at Louisville, they'll probably lose that one.
Well, they've been kind of up and down, hadn't they?
They were good last year. Or they were good 2 years ago. They were in the ACC championship game. I don't remember what they were last year. Let me see. They were 9-4 last year. They're a good team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean Jeff Brom's a good coach. He's got that thing going the right direction. That's 4-8.
Gross.
That's probably firing Mark Stoops, right? Probably gone.
It would be close.
So he was 10 and 3 in 2021. Since then, 7-6, 7-6, 4-8, 4-8. That's probably getting him fired.
Yeah, probably so. And he had the whole thing where he was going to Texas A&M.
Exactly.
So it's already in bad shape with the fan base. He was mad about the whole, like, their basketball fan base, things like that. Like, I think he's kind of rubbed the fans the wrong way the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, they'll turn on you pretty quick. State fans turn on Dan Mullen pretty quick.
Yeah.
And this is their Dan Mullen. I mean, he's literally their Dan Mullen, except for
he hasn't had the high-end success.
He's had lower.
He's had lower lows. Yeah, he started out slow. I mean, his first year was 2-10, right?
He was 2-10, and then I think he had like.
When did they start him?
I had a couple of 2-win seasons.
So his first year was 13.
Yep.
Or 12. No, it was 13. Yeah. Yeah. So he was 2-10, 5-7, 5-7, and then you'll say broke through at 7-6. But then he had some good years, and now I don't know.
I thought he was off and running whenever they had Cash Daniel or whoever it was, and those guys. They beat Florida. They beat Dan Mullen in Florida.
Yeah.
It really felt like they were turning the corner. And,
that was 2018. They beat State. That was Benny Snell.
And then State, a couple years ago, playing them at home, I really thought State was going to be able to break through, and they scored 3 points.
Yeah, that was a rough game. All right, so 4-8 for the Wildcats. You mentioned them. Do you want to do Florida later this week?
Sure.
All right, do the Gators later this week. I'm not a big fan, as you can probably guess. All right.
We never are on the.
I don't believe in Billy Napier.
I don't either.
I don't. So
I think he did just enough to save his job.
And we'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right. Tomorrow's show's the rumblings. You know what to do. Send us the questions. We got opponent previews coming up this week. We got more recruiting. I'm sure the baseball portal will continue to feed us some content throughout the coming weeks as well. Have a great Tuesday, guys. Back with you on Wednesday. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk, Mississippi.